Hi, friends. Welcome back. So, question for you. Should the SEC investigate Elon Musk? Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren thinks so, senator from Massachusetts, and wrote a letter to Gary Gensler over at the SEC. And let's see what it has to say. So, this is March 21st, 2024. Honorable Mr. Gary Gensler, and again, this is from the senator from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren. And it says, Dear Chair Gensler, I'm writing to provide additional information related to my July 17, 2023 request for an investigation of Tesla's board of directors and its chief executive officer, Elon Musk. In that request, I raised concerns about the board's failure to address possible misappropriation of Tesla resources. So, as we're looking at here, misappropriation of Tesla resources and conflict of interest arising from Mr. Musk's dual role at Tesla and X, renamed Twitter. So, you have conflict of interest between having two companies, and also are you misusing Tesla resources? We're also looking at here, I asked Security and Exchange Commission to investigate possible violations of U.S. security laws, including NASDAQ listings rules and SEC Rule 10b-5. The first thing that comes to mind when I read this, I was thinking of misappropriation is, this is just a reality, guys. Let's say you're an investor of Tesla, right, publicly traded company, and let's say Elon Musk is, taking a lot of resources, be it people or money from Tesla, putting it into Twitter. That's not necessarily what you signed up for. And I think the basic argument then would be, is the board, do they have enough independence from Elon Musk so they could actually, do something? Or are they essentially just Elon Musk all buddies and they just go along with whatever? But yes, if I were an investor of Tesla, I would be upset, again, if like all of my best engineers were, say, going over to Twitter, to say, for example. Let's keep on, and I'd love to hear fanboys, defend that. Say, no, it's about free speech. But I'd be like, you invested in Tesla, not Twitter. That's what the idea was. More of what it says here. New evidence has emerged in recent months that deepen my concerns that Tesla's board lacks independence from Mr. Musk, who uses his control over the board. So she's saying control over the board for his personal benefits rather than the best interests of Tesla shareholders. This is important information for SEC's consideration, right? So, and this is something that with normal companies, normal in the sense of like the CEO is always under pressure to perform for shareholders. So Musk is in a different situation, and that would be the argument that the board is like in cahoots with Musk to enrich Musk and themselves, not necessarily in shareholders. So that'd be the argument there. Just going through this, guys. Tesla's stock price has declined 29.4% since the start of 2024. Given the company title of, quote, worst performer of the S&P 500. And actually, we talked about that, let's say a week or so ago. We looked at literally all the stocks, and it was even worse than Boeing, which is, if you can imagine that, it's crazy. But regardless of whether the stock value is up or down, Tesla's requirement to comply with SEC rules is not contingent upon its stock value, and the board's responsibility to shareholders do not fluctuate based on the day-to-day changes in stock prices, right? So it's not. Regardless of the price, you should still be beholden to, you should have an independent board, and right, obviously try to please how can I say, enrich shareholders, not yourself. That would be the idea. Tesla's board of directors lacks independence. This says here, Mr. Musk has exerted a high degree of control over the Tesla board. On January 30, 2024, the Delaware Court of Chancery found the Tesla board breached their fiduciary responsibilities when awarding Musk an unfathomable, that's a quote, unfathomable equity compensation plan worth $55.8 billion. That's a lot of money, of course, or stock, I should say. The court concluded that Mr. Musk, quote, enjoyed thick ties, interesting way to phrase it, thick ties with directors tasked with negotiating on behalf of Tesla, and dominated the process that led the board to board approval of his compensation plan. The court found that Mr. Musk's large equity stake and deep personal and professional relationship with Tesla's board members, some of which dated back over 15 and 20 years, raised significant concerns. Here's a key: raised significant concerns about the effectiveness of the board's corporate governance. Right. The court further found that in the context of the compensation agreement, Musk controlled Tesla. And it's interesting too when remember too, Musk is demanding more control essentially, or he'll jump ship. That's something that we've been talking about. And let's see here. Also, it says here on January 30, 2024, the same date that the Delaware decision was released, Mr. Musk posted a public poll on X. I remember this actually, he did this, asking his followers whether Tesla should change its state incorporation to Texas. After receiving over 1 million responses, where 87% voted yes, Mr. Musk's post again stated, the public vote is unequivocally in favor of Texas. Texas will move immediately to hold a shareholder vote to transfer state of incorporation to Texas. Okay. To do so, Mr. Musk would likely have to gain approval from the board, yet his statements and actions with his private companies raise concern that he may have already decided to take steps toward this process. I get it. So, and it is weird behavior from a CEO of a publicly traded company to be behaving this way. To be fair to Mr. Musk, though, I mean, what you do with Twitter, it's right, privately controlled. Although it has a lot of people's interest in, because he bought a bunch of money from like Morgan Stanley, etc., to buy said thing, but it's not necessarily publicly traded. But I get what they're going at. Just saying here, you're just the kind of CEO that's on a whim, not necessarily illegal though. But let's just see what else it has to say here. In the weeks that followed his statement, Mr. Musk took swift action to incorporate his private business outside of Delaware, right, creating more uncertainty for Tesla's future. On February 8, 2024, Tesla changed the state of corporation for Neuralink, his brain chip company, from Delaware to Nevada. Okay. On February 14, 2024, Mr. Musk moved the incorporation of his rocket company, SpaceX, from Delaware to Texas. To date, there is no public indication the board addressed any of Musk's statements or actions regarding the potential reincorporation. Okay. So I think the argument that they're trying to make here is, look, he's moving all his companies, to different states. And is the board, how can I say, are they being consulted if whether or not Tesla's going to move? I think that's what they're kind of making the case here. A clear years-long pattern have emerged where the board has failed to accurately address conduct by Mr. Musk that may harm Tesla's shareholders. So, so she's trying to make the case that this is like, he's acting like a crazy guy, and then the board never really tries to rein him in. In July 2023 letter, I outlined a series of emerging concerns related to the effectiveness of the board's corporate governance, given Mr. Musk's personal relationships with existing board members and control over day-to-day operations at Tesla. And we've talked about that before. The board is like his brothers on the board and close relationships, which is unusual for a board when, you want something that has independent control and looking after shareholders, not necessarily, again, just following whatever the CEO says. Also says here, and in February 2024, the Wall Street Journal reported in detail on the personal financial connections between Mr. Musk and the board, concluding that, quote, multiple other directors of Musk companies have deep personal and financial ties to the billionaire entrepreneur and have profited enormously from the relationship. The connections are an extreme blurring of friendship and fortune. It's an interesting quote here. The connections are an extreme blurring of friendship and fortune and raise questions among some shareholders about the independence of the board members charged with overseeing the chief executive. This pattern of inaction, coupled with a lack of disclosure about the board's diminished independence, raised questions about possible violation of security laws and exchange rules, which fall under SEC's jurisdiction. Specifically, these new and deeply troubling reports raise additional questions about autonomy of these, quote, independent directors, and warrant SEC investigation of a potential violation of NASDAQ exchange rules. Okay. Also says here, Mr. Musk leveraged his control of Tesla to benefit his private companies, causing harm to shareholders. Yeah, and anyone who's been following the Tesla stock, right, once he bought Twitter, everyone was really worried that he was going to have to be dumping tons of shares to pay for said thing, and then, that those actions inherently hurt the stock. We'll see what else says here, though, if she mentions that or not. Mr. Musk's recent public statements and actions have raised fresh concerns about conflicts of interest, the redirection of Tesla resources to Musk private companies, and other harms to Tesla shareholders that I raised in my earlier letter. And by failing to adequately address the negative consequences of Mr. Musk's actions to Tesla shareholders, the board may have violated fiduciary duties. So, the arguments here that if the board doesn't speak up or do anything about Musk's crazy actions that are hurting Tesla, that's saying you're violating what you should be doing as a board member. Moreover, it says here in January 15, 2024 post on X, Mr. Musk stated that he would be uncomfortable. We talked about this. Uncomfortable growing Tesla as a leader in artificial intelligence, AI, without nearly doubling his ownership share of the company to roughly 25%, noting that he would, quote, prefer to build products outside of Tesla. Yeah, and we talked about that. He's like, give me more control or I'm out. By threatening to divert AI products away from Tesla, the post highlighted a potential conflict of interest between Musk's role at Tesla and his private company private AI company XAI. Tesla shareholders expressed concern over Musk's comments, and 4,000 of Tesla retail investors voted to discuss the issue during his 2024 earnings call, January 24, 2024 earnings call, that is. On the call, Musk said he chose 25% figure because it would give him, quote, strong influence but not control of the company. The board made no public statements in response to Mr. Musk's request for greater control and took no public action to address these shareholder concerns. So again, the idea here is just that the board is just doesn't do anything. Musk just does whatever he wants. That's sort of the argument that we're making here. This wouldn't be like this at other companies. Analysts noted that a clear corporate governance problems pose this threat. So here's a quote here. Let's see who we're quoting here. It says 26. Who are we quoting? We're quoting Wall Street Journal. Okay. And this is the Money and Drugs article. So this is the quote. Basically confirmed that Mr. Musk has a conflict of interest between Tesla and XAI. You could even make the argument that he is breaking his fiduciary duty to Tesla investors. The most ridiculous thing about this whole situation and how Tesla's reacting to it, or more accurately, not reacting to it, right? And that it shows how much control Musk currently has over Tesla. If Tesla wasn't under his control all the way up to the board, the Tesla board would have already, at the very least, commented on the situation. They haven't. Yeah, they would just make statements. Because if you guys don't know, if here's a good example. I remember when Meta stock was just like crashing and people are like upset the way Zuckerberg was handling. You get all these public statements from very powerful people. Were like, yo, what are you doing over there? You're losing me money. Why is your stock dropping? Right, that kind of stuff. And then essentially then the company makes changes to turn the stock price around, essentially, where you don't have this the whole Tesla cult plus the board that's that claims that it's not independent is very, very different. I'm just giving Meta as example. And just think about that, guys, from your point of view on this is if you have a bunch of money in this thing and your CEO's off, diverting his time and energy to something else. I mean, for a normal company, you'd be like, yo, your job is here at this company. What are you doing over another company? I'm just thinking that, logically, but I understand cults don't think that way. Let's just keep going here. It says the substantial holdings of several Tesla board members in Musk private companies raise further concerns about the board's independence when Musk positions the interests of Tesla against his own private companies, as he did his January 15th, 2024 post. This is not the first time that conflict of interests, potential conflicts have emerged between Mr. Musk's relationship with Tesla and his private companies. In my 2022 letter to Tesla's board chair, Dr. Robin Denholm, I expressed concern about the possible misappropriation of Tesla resources to help Musk run his new company, including funneling Tesla's chief information officer and more than 50 employees to work on his X takeover, right? So again, if you're a shareholder at Tesla, and if you're just a normal company, this would be really frowned upon, right? I mean, you're supposed to be raising me my share price over at Tesla and providing value to Tesla, not just working for another company. In the same letter, I asked the Tesla board to provide an explanation how it was addressing the corporate governance issues posed by Mr. Musk's dual role at Tesla and X. I received no response to these important questions, so they just don't answer. Mr. Musk has created a pathway that would allow Tesla to channel money to X through paid advertising. Yeah. And so, that'd be the issue, is Musk using Tesla as a piggy bank to pay for X, and X is a losing venture in terms of financially. And it's kind of funny, and I've said this guy so many times, if I can understand, hey, you love cars, you love Tesla, etc., and you want to invest in that. But this idea is like, if your money that you want to invest in cars and your FSD and all that stuff and whatever is going to like completely something different, that's messed up. And the fanboys and fangirls say, oh, no, this is about free speech, but that's weird, right? And the people who say that, I think that maybe they aren't investors of Tesla, perhaps, because again, if you're an investor of Tesla, you want your money to be, improving your Tesla, not necessarily diverting resources over to X. I think that's a fair argument there. Love to hear people argue against it, why we should use Tesla, engineers and money to pay for X, why that would be a good thing. I'd love to hear thoughts on that. Moreover, it says here, in a May 2023 shareholder meeting, Musk announced that Tesla would reverse its longstanding policy and start to advertise online, right? Because before they wouldn't advertise, and now they are. So, right, it's a change in path, of course. Musk acknowledged it was ironic to change his stance over months after buying Twitter, which is highly dependent on ads. Yeah, of course. Yeah, really ironic, right? In February 2024, Tesla launched its first paid video advertisement on X, raising further concerns that Mr. Musk may have acted based on his conflict of interest, and the board may have breached their fiduciary duties to Tesla shareholders. So why would this be a conflict of interest? Is because, okay, let's say in fact you are going to advertise, okay? Let's say we made a decision at a company, then a normal company would say, okay, where are all of the different places and ways that we could advertise? Oppose this going, hey, we're only going to advertise on one platform one way, and all the money's going to go to one place, right? It's not really shopping around for the best deal overall, be it reach, be it price, etc. Right? That's just not the way you normally would do things. But as it turns out, hey, how about you just give money to my company, right? You guys can see the gist of that. And again, a normal board would not let a CEO just go crazy like what Musk is up to. Let's see what else we see here. It says the securities laws and exchange rules help ensure that the public companies provide accurate information to investors and meet their disclosure requirements. The board has a legal obligation to address and disclose business risks, such as financial conflicts of interest or other risks to the board's ability to remain independent. Despite the growing concerns posed by Mr. Musk's conflicting roles at Tesla and his private companies, the board appears to have taken no action to address these risks or protect its shareholders. By appearances, it seems that the board continues to operate as if Musk is the techno king, that's a quote, who can do no wrong. It is important for the SEC to examine these new concerns as it determines whether the actions of Mr. Musk and the Tesla board may have violated securities laws. I therefore ask the SEC to carefully consider the following questions. So here's the questions that they want to look into. Number one, did Tesla's board accurately disclose information pertaining to the court's decision in Ternetta versus Musk, included but not limited to, okay, what are we looking at here? The court's finding that Tesla's board lacked independence when agreeing to Mr. Musk's compensation package. B, the court's, that was A. B, the court's rescission of Mr. Musk's compensation package and its implication regarding ownership of Tesla stocks and stock options, okay? And C, corporate governance issues that create risk to Tesla shareholders, and D, other risks to Tesla shareholders. So basically, is the board adequately disclosing everything with that? I think this would be the compensation lawsuit thing. I believe that's what that is. Yeah. So that would be the first question. Then the second one is, did the Tesla board accurately disclose information pertaining to Mr. Musk's January 15th statement? Would prefer to build products outside of Tesla. Yeah, usually this kind of stuff, and we talked about this before on the channel, this kind of stuff, this would be really frowned upon by the board. So is the board, taking action to these kind of things? Again, when your CEO does this kind of stuff in a regular company, this would be really unheard of, just to be silent and take no action. But that's what the board is doing. So we'll read it again here. Did the Tesla board accurately disclose information pertaining to Mr. Musk's January 15th, 24 statement? Quote, would prefer to build products outside of Tesla without increasing his ownership in Tesla to roughly 25%, but not limited to A. So here's the issues. Conflict of interest between Musk's ownership stake in Tesla and his private companies, which pose financial risk to Tesla shareholders. B, corporate governance issues that create risk to Tesla shareholders. And C, other risks to Tesla shareholders. So again, this is all related to, is the board out to protect shareholders? That's what this is all related to. Number 3, did the board accurately disclose information pertaining to the decision to launch a paid advertising campaign for Tesla on X, but not limited to, and it says A, conflicts of interest between Musk's ownership stake in Tesla and his private ownership of X, which pose financial risk to Tesla shareholders. B, corporate governance issues that create risk to Tesla shareholders. And C, other risks to Tesla shareholders. And this number 4, do the long-standing financial and personal connection between board and Mr. Musk represent violations of SEC and exchange rules regarding board independence? So sincerely, Elizabeth Warren, United States Senator. So this is the questions posed. This was again dated March 1st, 2024. There's a lot of stuff that you can go after Musk on. This is just SEC related. And we also too do they doing false advertising with the whole FSD thing? There was a recent thing as well is regarding this is SpaceX and the contracts that may or may not be illegal that they had employees sign on their way out. It was a non-disparaging stuff. They recently just settled this Tesla here. They recently just settled a dispute. How do you say, a lawsuit? That's a better way to say it. Regarding racism, and they paid out a settlement. It was like 2.6 million or something like that. We'll see where this one goes. It'll be interesting if we get any kind of board, if people on the board step down or stuff like that. The big risk right now for Tesla shareholders, and this is just regarding the whole situation, is when is Morgan Stanley and others or Fidelity or whatever going to say, hey, yo, Mr. Musk, pay us some money. Please give me the money, because he borrowed, I want to say it was 13 billion to buy Twitter for 44 billion. And then that kind of action, right, puts a big weight on the stock. Because theoretically, a person, theoretically, the board could have had a sit down with him and be like, yo, you're not doing this. You're going to stay at Tesla, this kind of thing, and just pay the fine. Don't buy Twitter and, whatever. We'll see what happens with this whole thing. I think there's always some drama with Musk. And I think the funniest thing, too, is also see the mental gymnastics that the fanboys and fangirls have to play when they, want to defend this guy. But people do. And I'm sure people will write comments in the video about how much Musk is correct in owning, Twitter and these kind of things, and how awesome it's going to be. But again, if I was a Tesla shareholder and into Tesla, I would be pretty irritated if my CEO was off doing other stuff and spending all his time on Twitter, doing said stuff, plus all the political stuff he's involved with all day, every day. I mean, I would just rather him tweet out about Tesla all the time and be pumping up Tesla if you're going to be pumping up something, right? But Tesla seems like I guess not his priority these days, in my opinion. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, and I'll catch you next video.